have two parashiyos, Vayakel Pekudei, and we finish Chumash Shemois. Chumash Shemois defined by the Ramban as Sefer Hagolus v'Hageulah. And we will start the Shiur with Psukim and Parshas Vayakel, and the other part, second part of the Shiur, will be on Pekudei. So Parshas Vayakel starts once again with the mitzvah of Shmiras HaShabbos. And the most fundamental rule on halacha in Melachos Shabbos is in this parsha. U'b'charoshas even amalis u'b'charoshas eitz lasos b'kol malachas machshavos. Anyone that learned Masechet Shabbos or Hilchas Shabbos, specifically Melachos Shabbos, knows the significance of these two magical words, Malachas Machshavos. Actually, in the Posek, it's Malachas Machshavos. Most of the fundamental halachas in Shabbos, Dovashem Eschab, Malachas Shen Sichel Gufa, Mekalkal Potod, Malachas She'enim Eskayemes. All these halachas are based on the concept Malachas Machshavos. To the extent that many people mistakenly think that these two words in Torah are in the context of Shabbos, which they are not. They are in the context of Melachos HaMishkan. So our topic today is Dumya de Melachos HaMishkan. There are so many halachas we learn Shabbos from the Mishkan, Klolim and Protim, the most broad general halachas, and many specific ones dealing with specific malachas. And today we will visit 16 sites. And B'derech Mashal, sometimes I feel like a tour guide that apologizes to historians, to the people he's taking around, and he explains to them, today we have a very busy day and we're going to visit 16 sites. So we cannot spend too much time on each of these sites. Let's hope we'll be back another time and we'll visit one site a day, two sites a day. We'll be able to spend more time. But today we're just having a brief look and moving on. So today we will just mention 16 different halachas, which are based on Shabbos, Dumya, the Mishkan. Number one, I already mentioned, Malachas Machshavos. Minchas Osher Shemois, the new edition, Siman Tzadik Chet. There's an amazing essay, an amazing siman about Malachas Machshavos. And I discussed more than 20 halachas which are based on the concept of Malachas Machshavos. So that is one of the most general topics, number two, in its generality, that we will discuss today. So number one is Malachas Machshavos. Number two, how do we know which malachas are prohibited on Shabbos? The Torah just says, Lo yisasu kol malacha. But the Torah doesn't explain or specify or give us an inkling, an indication, which of the malachas, how many malachas are prohibited. Shabbos Mem Tesumit Beis, we learn Melachos Shabbos from Melachos Mishkan. So the very fundamental knowledge, what are the malachas, we learn from Mishkan. And all the malachas that were essential and necessary in the building, in the erection of the Mishkan, in the manufacturing of Klei HaMikdash, those are Malachas Shabbos. Out of the 39, Oves Malachas Aboam Chosrachas, the Mishnah Shabbos Ayin Gimel, only two are specified in Torah. Lo yisavaru eish bechol moish v'seichem. And there's a machlokes tanuim. Why is this a malacha that is specified? Either havora lalav yotzes or havora lachalek yotzes. And shvoish tachtov al yetze ish mem koimoi b'yom Shabbos, which is Malachas Eitzor. And Tosfos the Beis Medalef in Shabbos explains why is Eitzor different? Malacha Geru'ah. So number one on our list is Malachas Machshavos. Number two is how many malachas are there and what are they? We learn Shabbos from Mishkan. Number three, general but somewhat more specific. Malacha she'ein tzricha legufa puto. Once again, as I apologized just 5 minutes ago, we cannot speak at great length on each and any one of these topics. I just briefly say, In the siman I mentioned about Melachos Machshavos, I explained, and also in Minchas Osher Masechet Shabbos. What is the difference between Dov Hashem Eschaven and Melachos Shein Tzicha Legufo? Dov Hashem Eschaven, the person has no interest about the result of what he's doing. He's aware he's making a charetz, but he has no interest in that charetz. Gorer Odom Kisei Mite V'Savsa. Melachos Shein Tzicha Legufo, he has a clear interest in the outcome, in the result of what he's doing. But there's a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos, how do we define a Melachos Shein Tzicha Legufo? According to Rashi, he needs the outcome, but a secondary outcome or a negative outcome. Tosfos disagrees, and Tosfos Shabbos Tzadik Daled Num Dalef explains, any malacha that is done, and the person wants to achieve a result, which is not the result that was achieved by Oisei HaMishkan, that is a Melachos Shein Tzicha Legufo. What defines the concept of Gufo? What is the essence of Malacha is? The essence of a Malacha is always the reason, the motive, the result that they wanted to achieve when they did this very same Malacha, B'Komes HaMishkan. So any Malacha that is done in order to achieve a result, an outcome, that is not the same that Oisei HaMishkan wanted to achieve, that is a malacha she'ein tzricha legufo. So the first three on our list are general halachas. Number one is the fundamental understanding, what are the malachas? Number two, the most general concept of Melachos Machshavos. Number three, Melachos Shein Tzicha Legufo. And now we start dealing with details and specifics. 5 different halachas associated with Melachos Haitzor Meshus Reshus. Rashuyo is Shabbos. How do we define Reshus Harabim? Rashi's opinion is very well known. Erev and Davav, once again, Erev and Daf Nun Tes. Reshus Harabim is only of 600,000 people dwell or travel in that specific area. Shishim Ribo, Kemo Digle Midbar, like it was in the Midbar when they put up the Mishkan. That is Rashi's opinion. Tosfos disagrees. Shimem Heisiv Zayin, it's a machlokes Mechaber and Ramah. The Mechaber is Machmik Keshitas Tosfos. The Ramah says our minig is Lahokal Keshitas Rashi. And this is a machlokes up to this very day. There are some that are very stringent about Erevin and others that are lenient. And one of the fundamental questions is Rashi and Tosfos. So, number 5. Another din of Reshuyo Shabbos. Ein Reshus Harabim Mekura. There is no Reshus Harabim that has a roof. Reshus Harabim is only a place that is not covered. Open space ad Rakia Shamaya. And why? Because the Reshus Harabim in the Midbar was without kirui. It was not covered. And that is a halacha ledoros. So, this is a fundamental halacha as I explained. It is brought in Shabbos Hey Omid Aleph, and once again Tzadik Ches Omud Aleph. Another din that we learn from Mishkan. So we're up to number 5. Kosvu HaTosfos, once again in Masechet Shabbos Davav Omid Aleph. Hamavim Mishazur Reshus Harabim derech tzidei Reshus Harabim, even if tzidei Reshus Harabim don't have a din of Reshus Harabim, chayev mistoma kach hoyo b'mishkan. So Tosfos says this halacha once again, mistoma kach hoyo b'mishkan. I promised 5 halachas dealing with Haitzor. Well, I quoted 3. Number 4, Hey Omid Aleph. Anybody that learned Perek Hamid Shabbos or Shulchan Aruch Hilchos Shabbos knows Moitzi Meshus Leshus or Mavi Daladam B'Sarab is only chayev al yedei akira v'hanacha, which means he needs to pick up this object in one rishus, carry it out, and place it, put it down in another rishus. Akira b'li hanocha. Mr. A picked up a chayfetz in a shusach. He walked it out to shusach. Mr. B snatched it out of his hands, and he's the one that put it down. Both are potul. Mr. A did akira b'li hanocha. Mr. B did hanocha without doing akira. It is only if you are the one that pick it up in one rishus, put it down in another rishus. And you need to put it down on a solid surface, a solid platform that has dalad al dalad tvochim. If you pick something up from the floor, from a table, and you put it in a well, on a pond, in a river, you put it on water, that is not defined as hanocha. So the Gemara asks a question, Eges b'kli v'kli al gabi mayim. There's a box on water, the river, the pond, and you pick up an object, egos, a fruit, one rishus. You put it into the box, and the box is on water. Would that be defined as hanocha or not? And the Gemara says no. It's not hanocha v'potul. Toises on the spot asks, Lagabe chotzam aleches on bo metziyed aftas. We say that a boat, a ship, a ferry, a canoe, whatever it is not considered chotzam aleches because the boat, well, obviously we're not dealing with a motorboat. The boat is actually static. It is the water that takes it. It is the wind that moves it. That is not defined chotzam aleches. So why Lagabe Shabbos do we say when you put it in a box and the box is on the water, it is as if you put it in the water? Taisus answers, Dumi the Mishkan. Hanoch and Mishkan was on the floor, on the earth of the land, not on water in any way. And therefore, Dumi the Mishkan. One other halacha in Hilchos Shabbos brings us to Shabbos of Tzadik Dalet Chayno Yiseh Satzmui. Person that carries a living creature, whether a child, person, or animal. A living creature, there is no chiyuv diurais, only in Issa de Rabbanan Chayno Yiseh Satzmui. Dead weight weighs more than live weight. When a person is alive or an animal is alive, it is easier to carry. And Taisa says, what's the difference whether it's easier or harder? Even if you carry out feathers that bear almost no weight, why would weight make a difference in Melachos Eitzah? Once again, Tosis explains, Dumya the Mishkan. What they carried out from one domain to another in the Mishkan were the Kroshim. Kroshim aren't alive. And that is why any live creature, there is no Malacha Dioraisa. So we're up to 8. We went through 50% of our sources. I said 5 sources in Melachos Eitzah, now 2 sources in Melachos Koireya. The fundamental Mishnah in Gimel Amud Aleph, Avos Melachos Aboam Chosar Achas. One of them is Koreya al Menas Litpoyer. 2 different approaches in the Rishonim. Why is Koreya Chayev? Only if it's al Menas Litpoyer. Rashi says, that is the way it was in the Mishkan. You know, each and every one of the Lamitas Malachas is based on the Mishkan, as I mentioned in source number 2, just a few minutes ago. Where was Kareh in the Mishkan? Yiriyas a Mishkan. So the Yiriyas were like curtains. And if worms ate into one of the Yiriyas, and it's not Lekvoid a Mishkan to have holes and infested by worms, so they cut out that section, and then they did Melechus Taifer, and they sewed them together. So Karer Mishkan was Karer Maslitpoyer, and that is why he's not Chayev, only Karer Maslitpoyer. Some other Rishonim say Makalkel. If it's Karer Shalom Maslitpoyer, it's a Makalkel. The Nafkaman is Kriyas Tikun Shalom Maslitpoyer. So according to Rashi, Al Maslitpoyer is not because of Makalkel. It is the essence of the Malacha. The basic definition of Korea is Korea al Menas Litpoyer. Mishkan. Bi'alocha, Shin Mem, I think it's Seafood Gimel, writes a big chiddush. Eina Korea Chayev Elu Ken Avatikan Mishnei Atzdodim. That's the way it was in Mishkan. So if you tear off part of a garment just to throw it away, that's not a chiyuv of Korea, even though it's al Menas Litpoyer. It is only of the te'eles, of the benefit, if you want to use both sides of what you tore apart. So that is another halacha in Melachos Kareya that we learn from the Mishkan. So 5 and 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10, and we move on. A gewaltige Chiddush from Tshuvas Harivash, Siman Shin Tzadik Daled. And many, even Achronim, I think, have a mistaken Havana in the Rivash. So the Rivash writes, Melachos Goizes. So Melachos Goizes fundamentally is when, sometimes I grope for words. I'm not that good in English. So I don't know how you say giza in English. Is it shearing? Something like that. Anyway, when you cut wool off sheep, that is goizes. So when you cut the wool off the body of the sheep, the malacha is in the wool. You have no interest in beautifying the sheep. I think sheep look best when they have wool. That is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created them. And everyone looks best the way he was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when you cut wool off a sheep, it's for the wool. But when you take a haircut and you cut off your hair, it's not for your hair, it's for your scalp. And when you cut the nails, you don't intend to use your nails. But nevertheless, that is a malacha diurais of goizes. So the Rivash is mechadish. Usually when we deal with the definitions, the essence of each and every malacha, a definition is one definition. Objects and things have many characteristics, but they usually have one definition. Goizes is an exception. Because both types of goizes were in the Mishkan. They used semer for tcheles, but they also cut the hair off oiros elim mu'udamim. They needed the skin of animals without the hair. So in Mishkan we find both forms of goizes, and both are melocha tzricha legufo. Some Achronim understood from the Rivash that the Chiddush is chayav afal pishas and melocha she'ein tzricha legufo. That's not what the Rivash conveys. It's not what he says. There is no melocha which is an exception, and it's chayav afal pishas she'ein tzricha legufo. Kiven shalocha kereb shima melocha she'ein tzricha legufo poter oleu. What the Rivash means to say that goizes has two different definitions. And it's regardless of whether you're cutting off anything that grows on the body of a Baal Chaim, of living creatures, is goizes. Whether you intend to use what you have cut off, or you intend to use the body from which we have removed whatever we removed that grew on this living organism, on this living animal or person. That is a chiddush from the Rivash, which is once again based on Dumya de Mishkan. Mogan Avrom and Hilchas Yom Tov, Tov Tzadik Zayin, Siv Kotnevov quotes the Mashal. The Mashal is in Beitza Pere Gimel, Siman Beis. A gewaldige chiddush, probably the strangest of all the sources I quote today. And he says there is no tzeder min haTorah on fish, because in the Mishkan they didn't catch fish. And I wonder, what did they catch? Tachash? Nesiv Chaim on the spot in Hilchos Yom Tov Tzadik Zayin asks, what about the chalazon? Well, the chalazon is a snail, not exactly a fish. But I wonder, in the Mishkan, neither did they catch elephants or lions or wolves or swans or flies. What's the difference what they caught? A general comment I should have probably mentioned in the outset of today's Shiur. We will emphasize it towards the end of the Shiur. When we say that we learn Melachos Shabbos from the Mishkan, it is in many levels. As I already mentioned, we started off with the most general and broad-based principles of Hilchos Shabbos. What are the Melachos? How many? Melachos Machshavos. And then we went into details. But it is only when we deal with the definition and the essence of a malacha does it need to be similar to Mishkan, not the details. So in the Mishkan, they didn't do much of hunting and catching and snaring animals. It was the tachash, maybe the chalazon. V'yafar piken, Mishnah mefareshes, that's tzvi. They didn't catch deer, they didn't catch lions, they didn't catch wolves, they didn't catch... What's the difference what you catch? What's the difference? Tzeda is tzeda. Kosev is chayiv. Does it make a difference whether you write on wood or on paper or on parchment? In the Mishnah, they didn't write on cloth. They wrote on wood. That was a kloshim. So the Magen Avraham actually disagrees with the Marshal, but the Marshal is a Gavaldik Chiddush. And the only reason I bring it today is just once again, Dum Yed Mishkan. So we have many sources. Moichek. Machloik is Bach and Meil Tzedakah. The Meil Tzedakah is in Siman Chof Hey. One of the greatest poskim, the Meil Tzedakah, Rabbi Yoina Lansdorf. He also wrote Kanfei Yoina and others for him. The Bach says Melachos Moichek, erasing, is not only when you erase letters or numbers that were written with ink, even if Shava fell onto parchment, or dirt, or whatever it is. If you clean it away, Al Manas Lichtov, that's the Malach of Moichek, Al Manas Lichtov. And the Meil Tzedakah says, no, this is a mistake. Only letters or numbers or symbols that people write with ink or any other writing materials is moichik. But a piece of dirt or sand or whatever it is, there is no issue of moichik. 3 more sources, and now I think these sources chronologically are later achronim, and they are more significant to the point I want to bring out. So let me make a brief pause. L'choide, the concept we're dealing with today has no negia alocha lamaisa, but it definitely does. So when we deal with questions of electricity, electronics, microelectronics, bionics, and so many different technological developments and breakthroughs from recent years, the question will always be, Dumya the Mishkan. Is this in any way similar to the Mishkan? So right now I'm going to quote 3 Piskei Halacha from the greatest Achronim dealing exactly with this question. More than 200 years ago, there was a big controversy in the halachic world about the parasol. The parasol is what we call the umbrella. Is it permissible to open up an umbrella on Shabbos? Or would it be an issur of a siyas oil? The Noide B'Yehuda Madura Tenyona, Or HaChaim Simalamed says, it's an issur d'oraisa. Interesting, he writes, he was the Rav in Prague. People use this all the time. And I voice my harsh disagreement, and they don't listen to me. Interesting. Today, no frum Jew would open umbrella in Rishus Hashanah. But the Noida wasn't successful with his machor. Chasam Sofer Chaim Simanayim Beis says, disagrees with the Noida B'Yehuda, and he says it definitely isn't a Baruch HaDeraisa, maybe it isn't even a Malach HaDerabon. And why is that? Dumya the Mishkan. So in the Mishkan we had an oil kva, we had an oil arai, but there was no oil that a person carries around in his hand. That is so far from what they had in the Mishkan, cannot be considered the oil at all. And even though oil arai is an issur d'Rabbanan, this might not even be an issur d'Rabbanan. I just wonder why the Chasam Sofer doesn't deal with the Gemara Shabbos Kuf Lamed Chesed Beis Hai Siyani. And the Gemara comes out, if a person wears a wide-brimmed hat, it's a problem of oil. So according to Rashi, it's only the Hava Minin, not the Maskona. According to the Tosfos, it's even the Maskona. A hat is no different than an umbrella. You put it on your head and you walk around. And everywhere you go, your hat is sure to go. And Afal Piken, the Rishonim deal in Shabbos Kuf Lamed Chesed Beis regarding oil. And the Chasam Sofer doesn't bring that source, but anyway, Some Sofer's argument is an oil that a person carries around and it is so temporary is not Dumi the Mishkan, and it might not even be an Issa Darabonon. Ben Doiroi, a contemporary of the Chasam Sofer, was the Yehuda Assad. Orach Chaim Simesam Chalaf in his Shuvas. He deals with a well or a faucet or whatever it was. And you have a lever, and when you open it up, the water flows. When you close it, the water stands still. But instead of using pipes made of metal or plastic like our modern day pipes, it was just a ta'ala. It was just like they dug into the rock, into the earth. It's like a shoe dug into the earth, and the water was just flowing. So when water flows in natural elements, the water just broadens. Would that be a chashash of a shvuya gumish of Melachos boinei? And the Yehuda Assad says, because it's underground, not visible to the naked eye, it's not Dumiyah the Mishkan. And this is also a Pele b'yeinai. As I said a few moments before, Dumiyah the Mishkan is an essence in the fundamental definitions. Why would it make a difference above the ground or under the ground? Whether you do see or you don't see, you know what's happening. So this is the Yehuda Assad, Pele b'yeinai. Finally, what it boils down to is Shuvas Marsham Chelik Beis Reish Mem Zayin. 130 years ago, Gedolim started dealing with the question of using electricity on Shabbos, closing an electrical circuit. I spoke about this at great length. Minchas Rosh Chelik Aleph, there are two Simonim Chelik Beis, another one, and right now I'm working on Minchas Rosh Shuvas Chelik Daled, and there are a few additional Shuvas that I wrote about electricity. But the first two Gedolim that dealt with this question were the Beis Yitzchak and the Marsham, Gedolei Galicia. Beis Yitzchak, Yored Deya, Chelik Beis, Maftecha, Siman Lamed Aleph, and Marsham, Chelik Beis, Reish Mem Zayin. The Beis Yitzchak, as very well known, says it's Moiled, which is an Issa Darabonon. Marsham doesn't go into details, and he doesn't say what Malach it might be. He only voices one argument. It cannot be Dioraisa because it's not Dumiyah the Mishkan. So even though I have difficulty with the Chasam Sofer, I definitely disagree with Rabbi Yehuda Assad, I think the Marsham makes more sense because electricity, how do we define electricity? An invention or a discovery? Both a discovery and an invention. So man didn't invent electricity. It is part of the wonderful, unbelievable, complex world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created for us. It's part of nature, but man discovered the ability to harness and utilize and produce electricity for his needs to achieve his goals. And it is definitely one of the most fundamental technological breakthroughs in the history of man. It changed the world in a million different ways, but it is in no way Dumiyah the Mishkan. Then came along the Chazon Ish says, Shash Diuraisa Shel Boina, and then came along the Minchas Rosh, and he said, Makeh Bepatish. I humbly say. But this argument is made by the Marsham, Dumiyah the Mishkan. So fundamentally, let me share with you my opinion. I think we need to be very cautious and very careful with the very concept of Dumiyah the Mishkan, as I said before. Because nothing we do today is in any way similar to the way we did it 2,000 years ago. This pen is not Dumiyah the Mishkan. It's a marvelous technological wonder. We take it for granted. But 2,000 years ago, scribes used feathers exactly like the ones we use when we write a Sefer Torah. What I mean to say is nothing we do today is Dumiyah the Mishkan. So whether we zero Melachos Shabbos? No, because the essence is the same. We write because we want to read. We tear because we want to sow. We plow because we want to plant. That is Dumiyah the Mishkan. So many years ago, the person held the plow, pushed it into the ground, and the oxen pulled the cart. And today, everything is mechanized. But Charisha is the same Charisha. Chorish al menat lezroa. Ktsira is the same Ktsira. You pluck the fruit because you want to eat. You want to put the fruit on your table. Ksiv is the same Ksiv, and Korea is the same Korea. The way we do it is totally different, but the essence is the same. And that is the fundamental rule. As long as essentially it's the same halacha, you wish to achieve a similar result, that is the Mishkan. Even though what you see and what you hear and what you use and the way you do things is not at all similar, that doesn't really make a difference. So this is a fundamental discussion, and we touch 16 different sources and opinions. Ele pekudei ha-Mishkan. Mishkan o Eidis. Rashi says, why does he say twice Mishkan? Remez l'shtei migdoshoi shenes mashkanu b'avoneseim shel Yisrael. So let me make a general comment because we finished Chumash Shemos. 5 parshios deal with the Chumash Mishkan. Tromet etzave kitiso v'yakel pikudei. 5 parshios, over and over again. My feeling is, Tromet etzave is before Chet Uegel. Then comes Chet Uegel and Parshas Kitisa. V'yakel pikudei is la'acha Chet Uegel. Moshel lama hadover daim. Person has a son, goes to Cheder. He's a great kid. And he brings home great report cards. And every Shabbos he brings home a pchina. And his Rebbe writes such fantastic things about him. Best boy in the class. Every test is 100%. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hundreds and hundreds. His father is so happy. Buys him a huge gift. But before he even gave him that gift, something went sour. And his great boy stopped learning Basmada. And the hundreds became 98s and 95s and 90s and 85 and 80s, and the father was broken. And the father tells the Rebbe, I brought him such an expensive present. I think I'm going to give it back to the store. He doesn't deserve it. I can't give him the present. There's no reason. And the Rebbe tells his father, no, you're doing a terrible mistake. Don't give it back to the store. Show your child what you bought him. And tell him, Yankala, Yasi, Maishi, whatever your name is, look, I want to give you a gift. But in order for me to give you this gift, you got to put your act together. You got to start learning Basmada again. And if you bring me 5 tests, 100%, this is yours. Take advantage of the gift you bought him. Don't give it back to the store. Don't lose hope. Tromet Etzav is before Chet Uegel. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, my beloved Kindalach, I'm giving you a gift. The gift is my Shechina. Build a Mishkan and I will dwell amongst you. And then comes Chet Uegel and everything falls apart and everything is shattered. So what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? Does he destroy the Beis HaMikdash forever? No. It's like a mashkan. He takes it back. And he says, Kindalach, look at this beautiful Beis HaMikdash. Do you remember when I dwell among you? How wonderful life is? How meaningful life is? Please, it's for you. Take it back. You just need to put your act together. Bring me a few positive tests, and the Beis HaMikdash is yours. Shtei mikdoshoi shenes mashkenu. You know what a mashken is? When a lender lends money to a borrower, and the lender wants to have some confidence, some security that he's going to get his money back. So he asks for a mashkan. I don't know what a mashkan is in English. He asks for a mashkan. So the borrower gives him, he has a Rolex watch, he has some Mont Blanc pens, he has some collector items, he has some Yudaike, he gives him some precious stuff. And the lender says, I'm not a collector. I'm embarrassed to walk out with a Rolex watch. I don't need this. I don't want this. I'm just keeping it because I want my money back. And when you're going to pay, I'm going to be more than happy to give you back your stuff. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu took away the Beis HaMikdash. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kinderlach, I don't need the Beis HaMikdash up in the heavens. Just pay, and I'll be so happy to give you back your mashkon. I love to dwell amongst you. The sky is mine, the heavens are mine. But I prefer being with you down there. It is like a mashkon. The lender doesn't want the mashkon. He wants his money. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please with us, Kinderlach, just pay your loans. Be good. And I will be happy to give back your mashkin. And what is that mashkin? That mashkin is myself, my Shechina. Va'osuli migdash v'shulchanti b'soicham. Let's pay our dues. Let's be Gita Kinderlach for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will once again v'shulchanti b'toich b'nei Yisrael. We should be zorcha b'kol b'yameinu to Hashoras Shechina to binyan Beis HaMikdash. Ki yamet seischem me'eretz Mitzrayim arenu neflois b'mehero v'yomeinu. Amen.